You want to watch a movie but don't know what to pick? Did Netflix and Amazon Prime or other streaming services release a movie today and you don't know which one is better? Leave it to me. I got all the time in the world. So, in streaming service Showdown, or Triple S for short, I'll review 2 or more movies that are released on the same day. I'm going to give my negatives and positives for it, give it my general impression, and rate the movies. After I'm finished with all of the movies, I will pick the one which deserves your attention. It will take the form of a battle, with the winner giving streaming service a trophy. This week, we have Netflix taking on VOD. So without further ado, I'm Valentin McMahon, the movie guy, and let's get this started. Introducing first, from the red corner, representing Netflix, Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga. Sigrid and Lars love singing and dancing ever since they were kids. They both bonded over the Eurovision Song Contest, and ABBA were their favorite performers. They wanted to participate and win the song contest when they become older. And now they are older and they still have that dream. They get accepted into Iceland Song Contest. If they win this competition, they have a chance at finally completing their dream of winning the Eurovision. This movie is a comedy and a musical, and the singing must be good, so must be the comedy. And I actually like the singing part. It very much feels like a Eurovision. The dancing choreography in this movie is also superb. It's very entertaining when the music aspects kick in. Will Ferrell can actually sing. It was really impressive to hear. Don't think that he's going to be the next John Bon Jovi or something, but he doesn't ruin the singing. His co-star Rachel McAdams, however, doesn't use her real voice, and her vocals are performed by a Swedish singer, Molly Sandén. Let's talk a bit about the comedy. They didn't try too hard with it, which is good, but they didn't try enough. I never laughed out loud, I just puffed my nose a couple of times, because there are no moments where I was really entertained. There were a couple of details that I didn't like. For example, this movie is set in Iceland, all the characters are from there, and in the beginning they all speak Icelandic. They were watching Eurovision and laughing at Lars's dancing until Lars gets mad and screams that he will one day win the Eurovision. In English. Was it too much for the child actor to learn a little bit of Icelandic? And after this scene they only talk in English. Keep it all in Icelandic or all in English. Don't go back and forth between them. The production of this movie is really good. The stages where everybody sings, the music videos look professional, so that's a plus for this movie. I actually enjoyed the characters. Lars has always had just one dream, and that is to win the Eurovision Song Contest. He only cares about this. That's why he's a middle-aged man with no wife, dead-end job. He will be kicked out of his house by his father, but he believes in himself. When Sigrid was young, she couldn't speak. She claims that it is Lars and his music that made her want to talk. And now she supports him in his dream. She hopes that if Lars wins the song contest, he'll be with her and, make babies. The performances are nothing to write home about. Will Ferrell is his usual goofy self. I appreciate his singing, and he has a nice northern accent, just like all the other characters. On the other side, Rachel McAdams is again decent, but I wasn't blown away by her. Pierce Brosnan is my favorite performer. I don't know what it is about this guy, but I love him. I might check out some of his James Bond work. His Nordic accent is just as good as the other crew, but it's his expressions that I love the most. This movie is actually a fun time. I didn't expect to actually be entertained by it. The comedy is not good, the plot is at most decent, but it is so damn good when there are scenes of dancing and singing, and there are quite a few of them. This movie plays to his strengths and is not that bad, so my rating for it is 3 stars. And now, presenting the movie from the white corner, representing VOD, Irresistible. Gary Zimmer is a political consultant who has one big blemish on his record. In 2016, he blew the election for the Clinton party. Now he has to rebound. He finds a video of a passionate war veteran online and decides to help him run for mayor in Deer Lake in Wisconsin so that he can get more votes for the Democrats from the people living rural environments. The veteran, Jack Hastings, is reluctant to accept at first, but after a convincing speech from Gary, he accepts. Under one condition, Gary has to run the entire campaign. The ending was really bad. The movie just got way too smart for its own good, threw in a crazy plot twist that didn't have room in the movie. It was just bad. It kind of ruined the movie. It's also a bit too long. The second act just seemed to keep going and going and going, and he barely switched into the third act, which was pretty bad, as I've already said. I liked how small towns are described in this movie. Gary comes from Washington, D.C., a big town, and when he gets to Deer Lake, he's trying to put on this persona of a country boy, but it doesn't work. He orders a beer but can't open it. He rents a room above a bar and he doesn't like that the room doesn't have a coffee maker or even Wi-Fi. He goes to a local coffee place and gets annoyed that everybody is so nice to each other and they all know each other. The main plot actually intrigued me. How will Gary Zimmer make Jack Hastings mayor? The town hasn't had a Democratic mayor since the 70s. Strategies that work in big cities don't actually work in the smaller ones. How will he bring out the charisma that Jack has, and will he actually start liking Deer Lake? And the election battle evolves. Braun, the current mayor who is running against Jack, is now funded by the Republicans. And the Republican that is helping them is Faith, a woman who has a past with Gary. And they don't like each other. Or more like they love competing against each other. Faith is a lot more nasty than Gary. Whilst Gary is actually attached to this project, she just wants to put a fork in his plans. The movie actually had me laughing quite a few times with sound. My favorite joke is that when Gary is rude to Faith, he cusses her out or rubs it in her face by doing inappropriate things. There is always this old lady named Dot to see him do it. It was hilarious. Gary Zimmer is basically any comedy character that Steve Carell plays. He is the witty, cynical, sarcastic, smart guy. And he pulls this kind of character off brilliantly. That's why I love Steve. I think that's exactly how Steve Carell is in real life. Jack Hastings is a hard-working farmer and father. He's a war veteran, as I've said, and he's very sympathetic. All that this man wants to do is save his town. But in order to do this, he has to play the game and entertain fundraisers and make speeches and promises so he can fund his campaign. Again, just like in the previous movie, all performers are pedestrian. They all play their characters. Steve Carell plays the sarcastic character just as well as he has always. Chris Cooper plays Jack Hastings, and he plays the same character that I've seen from him, but he's decent, so big ups for these guys for all having good performances. This movie will not appear on any top movies of the year list, not even top hidden gem movies of the year, but it was a fun time. I was entertained, and at the end of the day, isn't that what we want from movies? I personally hated the plot twist and the movie drags on a bit, but it was still enjoyable. So my rating for it is 3 stars. It's time to choose the movie that deserves your attention more. By the ratings of these movies, both of these are tied. I think you guys will enjoy both of these movies equally. But if you have the money to spare, I think you guys should go for Irresistible. I really enjoyed it, and I think you guys will too.